I don't think most real estate investors actually want it bad enough to actually achieve financial freedom, time freedom, and live the life that they actually want. They just don't want it bad enough.
Being even more bold, if you're listening to this podcast, you're reading books, doing all the things, you got to realize, you've got to think about this game differently. And I think that's what you're getting at, Gabe, is like most investors that I meet don't actually hit scale. They don't hit a seam because they start with one sort of like thesis on how this works, and they stick with that thesis and they don't change on the way up. In other words, they buy 3 or 4 or 5 units and they buy themselves jobs. They're taking the phone calls, they're talking to tenants, they're managing the properties. All that stuff's cool with 4 or 5 units, but you're not going to go past 10 units and work in a W-2 because it's too overwhelming. And so I think the statement is like, most people aren't going to scale. Or most people aren't going to get past that 10 because they're not thinking about it right. They're not thinking about scale in a way that, builds a team, that leverages other folks, that gets property management involved, that actually allows them to scale. And so like when you go to an event like, a bigger event like Bigger Pockets or something, most people don't have over 10 units and they don't know how to get past that. And I think it's an important topic because people want to scale, but they don't often know how. And they often, like you said, they don't want it bad enough.
Mitch, I got to interrupt. I think it goes far beyond that. It goes way before that. I can't tell you how many people I meet. They've read the books. They've listened to the podcast. Like they say they want it, but they don't actually fucking want it. Like they're not willing to burn the boats. They're not willing to go all in. They don't trust themselves. Like they don't, like we say, bet on yourself. Like if you want something bad enough, like you will find a way to achieve it and make that happen. And it's like, it actually drives me nuts because when I see that fire in someone that truly wants it and their why is strong enough, they will do whatever they can to achieve that. And that means whether they're trying to quit their W-2 or they're giving up, some level of security or safety from this job that they have. And then there's a small percentage of people. These are our elites. These are the people that we try to surround ourselves with, that we bring into our world. Those people that say nothing will get in my way and I will achieve my dream because my freedom, my financial freedom, my time freedom, living life on my terms is so important to me. And my why, my burning why and desire is so strong. I will achieve that and I'll make that happen. I think 99% of the rest of the people are full of absolute shit. Even those that are showing up to real estate events, they have a couple units. I do not believe that they believe in themselves so strongly that they're willing to go all in mentally, emotionally, physically, like everything, go all in and actually achieve the life they want through real estate. They're allowing something to hold them back, whether it's a job, whether it's a family member, whether it's something, they won't go all in.
Well, I think there's other categories of people too. I think there's people that, to your point, Gabe,
there's
really,
not other
really
categories. It's 99% and 1%. That's it. There's no other categories.
What are you talking about, Travis? What kind of people are you talking about?
I think there's people that, there's 2 types of other people. There's people that really want it in seasons, which maybe that the argument stands that they really don't want it. Meaning, because we've met people that really, really want it. They're doing everything they can. They're in their heads, they're breaking down walls to get there. And then you talk to them like a few months later and they're like, it didn't work out, or I've decided that I'm going to, do this other thing or stick with my job. So they might want it in seasons, which means maybe they don't want it, or maybe they actually really do want it, but they're not asking themselves the big questions.
Well, that's not an unwavering belief, right? Like when you have an unwavering belief, it's the difference of motivation and discipline. Every investor I've ever met, every wannabe investor that I've ever met, they have motivation sometimes. They're excited. They're looking at deals. They're making offers. They're listening to the podcast. They're reading the books. They're motivated. But disciplined investors, like they're doing the shit even when they've gone a year without taking down a deal, even when they've made 100 offers and they've all been rejected. That's the difference of like someone that truly believes and wants it, and those that go, hey, it must be nice. I'm going to do this for a year. I'm going to make these offers. I'm going to look at these properties. And then when it gets tough mentally, they quit.
Well, life doesn't suck enough for a lot of people, in my opinion, because look, we live in a country where we have we're so wealthy here that you can work at a coffee shop and you can have a warm little apartment and a moped or whatever. I mean, you can get by pretty easily here, and everyone's pretty comfortable, and the car and the house and everywhere, and the workplace is set at 71 degrees, and you got healthcare, and you got all these things, and people trade that comfort for a lack of freedom. And it's not hard. You meet people who came here from, say, another country or came from a really hard childhood. I think a lot of times those folks are more likely to succeed because life sucked enough and they've got some grit versus the majority of people are soft. I talk to people all the time. They go, well, how do you find off market deals? I go, well, one of the number ways to find off market deals is a cold call. Well, I don't want to do that. That scares me. That's uncomfortable. That makes me nervous. I'm like, well, you're too soft. You're too soft. You've got to want it. You got to have a big why, a burning why. And I think it's got to suck enough at some point in your life to take that jump. It's hard to leave a soft, cushy W-2 and actually go make progress. And I think most people are too soft. I've talked to how many people? I mean, probably 10 people about cold calling the last month or so. And I think one of those people, 10%, is actually getting on the phones and doing something. The rest are like, well, it's just not, I just feel uncomfortable about it. I'm too scared. You've got to have a burning why that's bigger than everything else you're doing.
I don't know if it's always about being too soft though. Yes, obviously I just went off about how you gotta really want it. Like you have to have that strong desire. I think for a lot of people, it's less about being soft and it just feels out of reach. It feels so out of reach. Like, how do I buy that first deal? How do I actually buy enough deals, to make it financially impactful so my life can change? And I actually think it starts at the core. It starts at the beginning. It's so much easier to do when you're, in my opinion, when you're younger, before you have that high paying job, before you get in the rat race, before you have that lifestyle creep. We've been taught to go to school, rack up a bunch of debt, get a job, work for someone else, make somebody else wealthy. And in the meantime, all of a sudden your bills, your expenses exceed the income that you're bringing in. And so it feels very out of reach. I am always excited when I see a young person that's only bringing home a couple grand a month going, hey, if I can replace this income, I'm technically free. Now I have the time to go scale, put deals together, build relationships. Like, when you're, and not saying it can't be done, because I've also watched people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s replace their income, or they have a high paying job and they're able to break free from that by investing. But I think it's fundamental. It goes back to the beginning. It goes back to the mindset of, are you going to follow what society has told you is the path to success, which in my opinion is actually the path of suffering and working your entire life to make somebody else wealthy, and you're actually trading your time for money for your entire life. And then most people get to a point where they get too old to enjoy life and they die never having actually experienced life. Or you change your mindset now and go, hey, there is another way, there is another path. And if I start this path when I'm young, I'll set myself up when I'm still fairly young, when I'm in my 30s, when I'm in my late 20s, my 40s, to actually be financially free and set myself up on the path to success and to live the life I want. And that's going against the grain. That's going against the average person in the United States that says, hey, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to work forever and try to save my way to have enough money to maybe, buy a house or enjoy myself and have a little bit of freedom.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why people have that mindset. I mean, to your point, Gabe, there are education systems, teachers, philosophies, ideologies to keep people trapped. If we're taught to get good grades, go to college, make the colleges rich, give half our check to the government, make the government rich, whatever's left, give to the money managers, make them rich, make the shareholders of publicly traded companies rich. We need, entrepreneurs, business owners, shareholders, the wealthy, landlords. You need tenants that are going to work every day to a W-2 job. We need employees that come to our companies and work every day so you can leverage them to get wealthier, or us, them, whoever. I mean, it's the game that you have to play. And I think you just have, and we don't make the rules. Those are the rules. And I think the conspiracy theorists and me have always taught we need to teach people an industrialized education, because the wealthy, the Fords, the Rockefellers of the world, back in the day that created the education system, they needed factory workers. We needed tenants. They needed tenants in their buildings. And so, yeah, I mean, the 1% are the people that actually see that there's another way and pursue that. But we wouldn't do well if I wouldn't have done well had I not had employees in my company, if we didn't have tenants for our properties, right? So you just have to ask yourself, do you want to be the 99%, or do you have to break the mold of what the software, that what you've been taught your whole life? And the thing about this country, though, it's great, is yes, that's the way it's set up, but there is a path for everybody to cross over. But you have to have the burning why, and you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And to your point, I don't think people are.
But this goes far beyond real estate. Like, I don't know. I don't want to speak for all three of us, but look, real estate has served me well. Real estate, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in 2002, and I'm excited, and I think it's all about building wealth through real estate. But it's really not. It was about building autonomy, about building freedom through real estate. Real estate has allowed me to live the life that I want. Real estate has allowed me to spend time with my wife and my kids, and to travel and to give back and do all these things that are important to me in life outside of real estate. I talk about real estate all the time. I talk about, creative financing. I talk about building wealth and cash flow, but it's not real estate that I'm in love with. I'm in love with my autonomy and my time and my freedom and living life like truly living life, not just letting life pass me by, but living the life I want. If I died tomorrow, I feel like I've done everything I want to do, and I still want to do everything else, right? And so it's not just about real estate. I think, if you're a young person trying to figure out what you want in life, go find people that are living a life similar to what you want, because there's also a lot of real estate investors, and there's a lot of people, entrepreneurs that are far wealthier than I am, that I have no interest in living the life that they have, right? So find people that are living the life similar to what you want, and see what they're doing. Are their relationships great? Do they have freedom? Are they able to travel? Are they truly free, or have they also built a business that's trapped them? Because real estate is just the vehicle, but you could also, trap yourself in the game of real estate, just like you could a W-2 or any other kind of job or career. So I think you need to be careful with, like, who you're watching, and who you're imitating, and make sure it aligns with the life that you actually want.
Well, I agree, and I think most people though trade freedom for comfort. They're not free, so they're working a 9 to 5, maybe 50, 60 hours a week, but they're comfortable.
But how is that? How is that comfortable?
Well, another way of saying comfort is material. I think our country's addicted to material. So you've got the house, you've got the nice cars, you've got you're part of the local club, whatever. Maybe you have a sports car in the garage, whatever. You don't have the time though to use it hardly. You don't have the time to build valuable relationships, or to get healthy, to exercise, to do the things I think that really matter. I think people are addicted to that, especially if you're in your 30s and 40s. By that time, you have all these expenses, you have all this material, you're working a W-2. And the reality is, you'd have to trade. In other words, if you're going to leave at that point, you're going to have to trade those comforts temporarily, because a lot of times you're not going to walk into the same income day one. But I mean, I made that choice. I was in late 20s. I had a nice house, a nice car, all this stuff, just like anybody else. But I had a job that took all of my time, and I was miserable enough that I had to leave, and we jumped off the entrepreneurial cliff. Now I got uncomfortable for a while. I lived in a trailer, like we got uncomfortable, but I had my time back. So like I think that you've got to, I think a lot of people in their even 40s, 50s now have enough in their Roth IRA or their stock investments or whatever, where they could actually go get free, go reinvest that capital, go reposition that capital, get free, maybe not have the same income, but they're free. Maybe they don't have the same house in the same neighborhood or whatever, but they're free. So it's what do you want? Do you want the big house and the nice car and all the debt, but you're stuck in traffic for 2 hours a day? Like, is that you got to ask yourself what you want?
I agree. I think people lie to themselves. Like, you can get free with a lot less, and then actually have the time to live the life you want, and then use some of that time to go out and educate yourself and create more wealth in a different way than you think you have to by going to work every day. I remember when I first started investing in real estate, and I would talk about building wealth, and I would talk about cash flow, and I had people saying, "You love money." And I'm like, "Bullshit, I love money. You're trading 8, 9, 10 hours a day for money. I'm trying to get free and not be a slave to money. But society has taught us, like, to be successful, you need to grind, 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 grind. You need to trade your time for dollars. And I think people have been tricked to think that, hey, if I do this for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, at some point in the future, I will finally be free. And the reality is, those people aren't usually free. They end up realizing at some point later in life that I just exchanged all my time, my whole week, my month, my year, decades of my life, I've exchanged for money when I actually could have lived a freer life with more time and then the ability to take that money and to go invest it in things that actually give me my time back and actually create more freedom in my life versus being a slave to money by showing up and just working for someone else 8, 9, 10 hours a day.
Well, I think it comes down to, do you want to be a cog in the system for your whole life, or do you want to own the system? And whether you own an apartment building or several apartment buildings or mobile home parks or, commercial real estate, you either own the system or you're in the system. If you're in the system, it's comfortable, it's predictable, but you're trading your freedom and you're trading your life for some future that may never come. And the person that owns the system that you're the cog in doesn't really care about, your life and your future and your freedom. And so it's really up to you to make the decision and want it bad enough to get outside the system and start owning systems. And that could be that could start with a duplex, a triplex. That could be starting a small business that you get some staff in place that can then do the work for you, and you can work on the system and work outside the system. So it's really about taking the red pill. I think I say that all the time. I mean,
I don't take drugs, Travis, but I mean, whatever. I don't know what pills
but if you did, you would take the red pill.
Travis is taking the blue pill, I think. So we all know what that is. Anyway, so I think that the other thing too is, like, we don't have companies today like we had companies even 30, 40 years ago that offer a real true retirement. And so today we've got to be more creative, I think. That paired with the tech that exists today allows us, I think, to scale in a way that's even different than 30 or 40 years ago. So, like, people in the 30s, 40s today, we have an obligation to figure this thing out, because a company's not going to have your back. And in fact, I've met a lot of people who are in their 50s who get cut. And now they're going, "Oh my gosh, I thought I was going to have this retirement. I thought this was going to be my legacy. This is going to be whatever." And so
I was doing what I was told to do.
yeah, like, I think today it's even riskier than it was just, in the past. And so working for a company, I think, has gotten even more risky over the last, 20, 30 years. And so we have an obligation to our families to go figure it out and go figure out something else. And by the way, if you love your job, then keep your job, but go invest in real estate as well. It doesn't need to be 0 and 1s. You don't need to jump off the cliff and be a full-time investor. There can be all combinations. Having a couple awesome properties that are producing could make or break your later years. So it doesn't have to be this, you got to leave your job or stay at your job. It could be, look, I'm a nurse. I love what I do. I give back. I make good money. I serve people, but you're also out there investing in real estate, protecting yourself from inflation, and you're growing some net worth, some cash flow. So it doesn't have to be the extreme.
It doesn't have to be the extreme, but I do think, like, look, we get one life, as far as I know, right? We get one life. Like, why wouldn't you go for it? Like, worst case scenario in life, you go all in on something. You go all in on something and you fail. Like, oh fucking well. Like, why? Like, if you want something bad enough, why wouldn't you go for it? Why wouldn't you push again? Like, to me, it seems like a prison sentence to not be free, to not be able to live the life that I want. And look, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be hard shit that comes up, like, but you choose your hard, right? Like, to me, working 50, 60 years is also hard. It's a different hard than, oh shit, somebody burnt my apartment complex down. That's hard too, but it's just a different kind of hard. But I would take freedom over a federal prison sentence for 60 years, on a daily basis.
I think there's some merit to that, but also you got to realize there's people out there that don't believe they have a prison sentence. They've achieved the job they want to work. They love their job. They love their work. There is a demographic there that exists, or they've gotten a job that they never thought they could get. They've done their parents and their parents' parents, and they've achieved some success inside this marketplace. And so for them, it's like, I don't know the answer is always just like leave your job and go buy a bunch of real estate. I think that there is a middle ground, and you can be a school teacher and go buy some really impactful assets that change your entire life.
I agree and disagree. So like I agree if that is your authentic like your authentic self and what you want. So it's not about do I just work a job? Like if that's truly your genuine like happy place and that brings you the most joy and you're doing like the work that you're excited to every day, then great. I like there's no problem with that. Yeah, I'm speaking to those that hate their job. The question isn't like, is it real estate? Is it a W-2? Is it, an entrepreneur? Like the question is like, are you living the life you want? And if you're not living the life you want, you need to change it. And oftentimes, we preach real estate because real estate gives the average person, I think, an unfair advantage to create financial freedom, to have that freedom to go live the life they want. So the question isn't about, is it real estate? Is it a job? Is it this? Is it that? The question is, are you living the life that you want? And if you're not, what are you going to do to change it? And I think we're all believers that real estate is an opportunity and a way and an unfair advantage to change that, to compress timeframes and to actually get free.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, the last thing I'll say is like, if you're listening to this, do an audit. How healthy are you? How happy are you? What are your relationships? Don't just look at your money. Look at your freedom and then all the things as a result of that. What job are you working? Do you like your job? Do you like your colleagues? Do you like your boss? Do you like I mean, and if that's the case where you're miserable, then you got to figure something out. And real estate is a vehicle to go make a huge impact. I mean, I've met people and I had the same journey where it's like, within a short amount of time, you're able to make a massive impact because in real estate, money is attached to the value you create, not the time you give. Okay, that in the working world W-2, it's the time. You're selling your time versus in real estate, it's the value you provide. So value you provide to the community, to tenants. It's attached to forced appreciation. It's attached to improvements you make on the property. And that's what's interesting about real estate is you cut the tie between time and money, and you're actually able to go build a life based on value, not necessarily based on your time given. So I think doing an audit and trying to figure that out. If you're in traffic every day and you don't have a good relationship, you don't have time for your kids, you got to do something and you got to do it fast because like Gabe said, you only get one life as far as he knows. And so you've got to figure out how to make that the best you can.